Hi, I'm Mike and this is Rick. And what we'd like to do is introduce a series, Where Was God When? We'd like to explain where the idea came from. One of the things we wanted to do was have a series that would also be a book that would explain some really key issues that young people are facing.
In both Mike's and my lives, we've had some very difficult situations that have come up. Some things that were really hard that we struggled with in our own lives. And actually, as we've been discussing that, and maybe the journey God took us through those areas, we began thinking about young people today. And many times I hear Christians give cliches or give surface answers to questions that are really deep and heart-wrenching questions that young people have today. And so that's one thing that we wanted to do is to delve into these areas that many people don't delve into, but do it in a biblical point of view, but really to the questions that maybe we as Christians are afraid to ask.
What we found is as we got into this session, each week we did this at the Word of Life Snow Camp for the Bible Institute. Every week we had young people coming to us saying, thank you for addressing the real issues. Thank you for giving me permission to actually ask questions. And thank you also for giving me some hope as far as there is an answer. And it's not just a cliche, as Rick said.
You know, many times I think we're afraid of asking God real questions. And that's what we try to do. We're afraid to say, God, I think you're unfair. God, it doesn't make sense. God, I think this is wrong. And not in an opportunity for us to try to educate God, but like the psalmist did so many times, pour out our heart with the real issues that are going on inside there. And then for us to find from Scripture some real answers to some of these questions that many Christians are afraid to ask, Mike.
We'll be extremely open and transparent with you. We don't have all the answers, but we do know where the answers are found, and we will give you some direction as to what to do. Matter of fact, one of the keys is going to be in the conclusion of every one of these sessions. You have to make a choice on what you're going to do with the information that you get. We've had to make that choice. And by the way, it's not something you do one time, it's something you have to do over and over again.
We don't want you to be nervous. I believe that the information we're going to give you will free many of you. You know, many of you have difficult questions, maybe because of divorce in your life. Maybe it's because of some kind of issue that you've been hurt deeply when you were a child or as a young person. Maybe somebody betrayed you. Maybe it's a deep hurt inside that you just said, where was God when that happened? And you come to a cynical belief that maybe there isn't an answer or God's not going to answer. And I want you to know that our series, that our goal is at the end that we give you hope.
After we did some research, we realized that there really is very little on this topic, and we couldn't find any resources that deal specifically with the attributes of God for teens in asking the hard, difficult questions. That kind of gave us the push to continue with this project and to try to answer those questions, not with just cliches, but with real solid biblical answers. And those answers only can come from God.
You know, many of you are asking that question, so is this a theory or is this reality? I can tell you that some years ago, that a girl that I thought that I loved, when I found out that she committed suicide, I was in a church and I walked out of the pastor's office, and the pastor said to me, Rick, when you think about that difficult situation, what I want you to do is meditate on the attributes of God. I have to tell you that that probably is what got me through that very difficult situation in my life. I want you to know that there's some very hard questions that many of you are asking. Maybe you were afraid to ask God those questions. Maybe you didn't think you had the right to, but I'm going to tell you, God's not afraid of your questions. And that every question you have, that God can answer. And we're convinced that the attributes of God is a good pathway to those answers.